5 weeks since Sorvane's arrival at Calivorne. The castle has found a new rhythm, uneasy at first, then careful, then something approaching ordinary. Sorvane's men have settled into the routines of the holding. The household staff have learned his preferences, his fairness, his absolute intolerance for cruelty. The horses have decided collectively that he is acceptable. The Sylvanmere is at peace. It is an occupied peace, a borrowed peace, but it is peace nonetheless. Lirenne had learned him the way she had learned the hidden passages as a child, methodically, completely, until the knowledge was so deeply held, it felt like something she had always known. She knew that he woke before dawn and stood at the window of the Lord's chamber for exactly the time it took the light to change from black to grey to the first pale gold. She knew that he took his meals simply and without ceremony, and always left something on the plate, not from lack of appetite, but from some ingrained habit of restraint she had never seen him break. She knew that he read late into the night, and that the book he was currently working through was a history of the Sylvanmere that the steward had found for him in the library, a history of her family, her land, her people, and that he read it with the same focused attention he gave his military dispatches. She knew that sometimes in the evenings he went to the entrance hall and stood before her portrait. Not every night, but often enough. She always knew when he was there. She could not have explained how. Evening, the entrance hall. Sorvane stands before the portrait as he has stood before it a dozen times. The candlelight makes the violet eyes move, or seem to move, following him as he shifts his weight from one foot to the other. Above and behind the portrait, in the narrow passage that runs behind the wall panel, Lirenne. She discovered some weeks ago that there is a gap in the carved frame of the portrait itself, a deliberate gap she suspects now, something her family built in knowing that the portrait would hang here and that someone might one day need to see through it. Her family thought of everything. She watches him through the gap in her own painted face. The particular strangeness of this does not escape her. To the portrait, quietly, the way a person speaks when they are certain they are alone.
I read about your grandfather today. In the history, he built the East Granary in a drought year, fed 3 neighbouring holdings through the winter on stores that should not have been enough. The steward says your father did the same thing 20 years later. Different drought, different neighbours, same result.
He is quiet for a moment.
You come from remarkable people. I think you knew that. I think you wore it the way you wear everything else in this portrait, like something you earned.
A pause. He tilts his head slightly, looking at her painted eyes.
I keep thinking that if you were here, if things had been different, you would have had opinions about everything I am doing, about all of it, and you would have been right about most of it. And you would have told me so directly, and without apology.
The ghost of something, almost a smile, crosses his face. Behind the portrait, in the gap between the painted canvas and the stone, Lirenne presses her hand flat over her heart. Not dramatically, just quietly, the way you press on something that aches. Later that night, the library of Calivorne Castle. Sorvane sits at the long table with the history of the Sylvanmere open before him and a candle burning low. He has been reading for 2 hours. He is not tired. From the passage behind the library's east wall, Lirenne watches through a gap in the shelving. She has her journal with her. She has not written anything in it tonight. This was the part she could not explain to anyone, not even to herself, not even in the honest dark of her hidden apartment. It was not only that she watched him because she needed to. It was not only strategy, not only intelligence, not only the careful calculation of a woman protecting her people and her home. She watched him because she wanted to. Because 2 hours in a library with a man who was reading about her family, with that quality of attention, careful, respectful, genuinely wanting to understand, was more time with him than she had any right to, and she took all of it. She had fallen in love with a man through walls. She was not certain whether this was the most tragic thing she had ever done, or the most extraordinary. Some nights it felt like both. In the library, Sorvane turns a page. He pauses, reads something again. His hand moves to the margin of the page, as though he might write something there, then stops, remembering it is not his book. Not truly. Not yet. He reads on. Lirenne watches him read about her family, and feels something so large and complicated, she has given up trying to name it, and simply lets it be there, filling up all the available space in her chest, warm and impossible, and entirely her own. Deep night. Lirenne's hidden apartment. The knock comes in the particular pattern only the steward uses. 3 quiet taps. A pause, 2 more. Lirenne opens the narrow door immediately. The steward enters. He is carrying a small tray. Her supper, as always, the cover of ordinariness maintained even now. But his face, as he sets the tray down and turns to her, is not the face of a man delivering supper.
Sit down.
He sits. She does not. She stands with her arms folded and waits.
And?
Maldron Vorsander has been at court for 3 weeks. He has been very busy, very social, meeting with the king's advisors, attending every function, making himself agreeable to people who are in a position to be useful to him.
He is always agreeable to people who are useful to him. What specifically is he saying?
He has been asking questions, my lady, about the succession, about what becomes of a holding when there is no male heir, and the female heir is deceased, about the legal mechanisms by which a kinsman might press a claim, about whether the king might be persuaded, in the interest of regional stability, to assign the governance of the Sylvanmere to use his word, to a more suitable candidate.
Silence. Lirenne is very still.
He has also, and this is the part my contact felt most urgent to convey, he has been in contact with the defeated Western King, privately. There are suggestions of a proposed arrangement. If Maldron receives the Sylvanmere, he will advocate at court for lenient terms for the Western territories. He is positioning himself as a peacemaker, a solution to a problem that he himself is in the process of creating.
Lirenne unfolds her arms. She moves to the small window of her hidden apartment, the one that looks out through a slit in the castle wall at the dark sweep of the Sylvanmere below. Her land, her people, her inheritance.
He doesn't know I'm alive.
No, my lady. As far as Maldron Vorsander is concerned, the last of the Calivorne line is buried in her mother's garden. The lands are masterless. He is simply tidying up.
How long before this reaches the king formally?
My contact believes a formal petition could come within the month, perhaps sooner if he feels his position is secure.
Lirenne turns from the window. The steward looks at her face and sees something there that he recognizes. Has always recognized, since she was a small girl in her father's study, sitting very straight and very still, while Lord Calivorne explained to her that the world would not always be fair, and that the answer to unfairness was not grief but strategy. He sees her father in her face right now, completely.
He made one mistake.
My lady.
Maldron. He made one mistake. He assumed that dead means gone. He assumed that without me in the room, there is no one paying attention.
She picks up her journal from the desk, opens it to a fresh page, picks up her pen.
Tell me everything your contact said. Every detail. Every name he mentioned. Every meeting. Every arrangement. All of it.
Yes, my lady.
She writes. He talks. The candle burns between them. Outside the hidden walls of Calivorne Castle, the Sylvanmere lies quiet and dark, and entirely unaware that the woman who owns it, who has always owned it, who will always own it, is awake in the walls making plans. The ghost of Calivorne had been watching and waiting. Now she had something to watch for. Now the waiting had a purpose. Maldron Vorsander had spent 3 weeks being agreeable to the right people at court. He had no idea that the wrong person had just found out.